Pat Coleman along with Jim Dixon as we wrap up day 2, Saturday, from the 2018 Division III World Series in Appleton, Wisconsin, a day in which we started with 8 teams and we sent 2 home. Oswego State sent packing along with the College of Wooster, perhaps a bit of an unexpected turn of events for one of the most experienced playoff teams or playoff programs in Division III. Well, let's talk first, Jim, about the first elimination game. We've already mentioned, spoiler alert, that it was Oswego State who went home. Randolph-Macon with the 11-4 win. And Randolph-Macon, as you know, we pointed out last night, and you made a point of talking about in last night's post-game news conference, they put a couple runs on the board in the late innings, and there was some question as to whether that would qualify as momentum to bring them forward into day 2, and it certainly looked like it did.
They like to think that once you get scoring runs, it's going to help you not only in that game, but it's going to help you in future games as well.
They did. They came out and scored 3 in the top of the first, added 2 in the second. And even though Oswego came back and cut it to 5-4 with 3 runs in the bottom half of the third, Randolph-Macon came right back and challenged. And it was a great pitching performance by Nick Roth, who's maybe his line wouldn't necessarily suggest it. 7 innings pitched, 10 hits, 4 earned runs, but a big kind of a gutty performance. They likened him, I think, to Greg Maddox. I likened that performance maybe going back another decade or so to Jack Morris, just a guy who comes in, eats up a bunch of innings, and maybe doesn't have the greatest ERA at the end of the day, but leaves with the lead, and you end up winning the game.
We could have seen 2 of the top 2 seeds leave today, but Randolph-Macon sat there and they came by. Their offense was humming. Their defense was doing well. The pitching was excellent. That's why they're here tomorrow.
It was really night and day for Jeff Butler. Butler is the number 2 hitter in the order, follows Ryan Duporn, who got on base all 5 times in the opener on Friday, and Butler left him hanging there every single time. Today, Butler 5 for 6, 4 runs scored, 2 runs batted in, and really just hits all up and down the lineup as the Yellow Jackets pounded out 18 hits, and everybody who started got into the hit column.
Yes, you really got to look at Jeff Butler, and not only was it his offense, he was the 16th player to have 5 hits in a game in the World Series, but his defense too. Randolph-Macon turned 4 double plays, very crucial double plays, and the pitching behind that fence behind them, and they really appreciate that pitcher's friend.
On the other side, Oswego State, we talked a little bit about their defense in the Friday night show. They were credited, charged, however you want to think about it, with 2 errors today, but that really did not tell the entirety of the story because there were a couple of key overthrows and other just missed opportunities that weren't counted as errors but still contributed to Randolph-Macon extending their offense.
Yes, Randolph-Macon, they had plenty of offense and they had plenty of pitching, and we hate to see Oswego State go, but they certainly were they weren't the best team on the field today.
2 and out for the second year in a row for the Lakers. 2 and barbecue being the phrase, right? I think we might refer to it as Oswego State opening the barbecue stand. So bringing the barbecue stand to Oswego, New York. I'm sure that'll work.
And Wooster's going to be joining them, too.
Worcester will be joining them. The College of Wooster falls to 40-10. They go 2 and out here at Appleton, falling to Swarthmore by the score of 10-5. This was a game that really surprised me, Jim, because first of all, you just really expected more offense out of Swarthmore. They got 2 runs in the 9th off Sawyer Lake, who was tired and just trying to finish out a complete game. But basically, by that point, they had gone 17 innings and scored just 3 runs in the entirety of their Division III World Series trip to that point.
And the one thing that struck me right away is how last night they gave up 3 early runs. And you look down and look, oh, look, Swarthmore, 3 early runs. Yeah. So it was all deja vu again, and Wooster never really did find the offensive stroke. Yeah,
and Brian Murray started and struggled. He gave up 4 hits and 2 walks in his inning and a third. Wooster relieved him with Evan Fax and Andrew Hill. Basically, there was not a lot of effective relief either. We knew, of course, that Wooster was a hitting predominant team. That was what everybody was talking about, was their offense. You looked at their pitching coming in and you thought, yeah, there are a bunch of guys who have done, above average Division III work, right? A bunch of guys with ERAs in the threes, but there was nobody who was that one shutdown ace. There was no Nathan Malinowski type, et cetera, on that roster, and it definitely showed, I think.
Yeah, they were never relaxed enough to sit there and just play the game the way it should be played. And they ran into two very good teams. Swarthmore,
yeah.
The coach said we're not one of them powerhouse teams, and we've never been.
Nope.
But they're playing with house money. They're relaxed. They have a great season no matter what happens, and every day their season just gets that much better.
I would highly recommend that you go watch the Swarthmore post-game news conference. If you're crunched for time, just watch the last 4 minutes or so. Sawyer Lake, the starting pitcher, of course, is one of the guys we talked to. He did end up with a complete game, gave up 9 hits, 4 runs, but he's very entertaining to listen to, and you should hear him describe a play at the plate that was a key play in the middle innings, in which a wild pitch or a pass ball got away from the catcher. Runner comes down to try to score, and Lake ends up tagging him out. You'll see a photo on our website that is Lake tagging him out behind his back, but you need to hear him describe it. I can't possibly do it justice. Long story short, Lake improves to 6-1. Swarthmore is still here. They improved to 38-10, and we didn't even talk about offense, but really quickly, Cole Beaker, 4 for 5 with 3 runs scored. Jackson Roberts, 4 for 5, 3 runs scored, 4 runs batted in, including a home run just beneath the scoreboard in left center field. The games in the winners bracket, starting with the first game in bracket 1, pool 1. Pool B, the top half of your bracket, between UT-Tyler and Misericordia, and UT-Tyler comes away with the 7-3 win. The thing that is most impressive about this, Jim, and we talked about it with them in the post-game news conference, is that Tyler was in this position where, having lost the second game in the regional, had to come back through the losers bracket, and that's an 8-team regional in the Central instead of a 6-team regional that Tyler might have normally played in if they were playing in the West, and used obviously a ton of pitchers in order to do so, doubleheaders on each of the last 3 days. The rain in Sauget, Illinois didn't help either. So the complete game from Cedillo in the opener, and then 8 1/3 innings from Ryan Cheatham, who was really trying to finish it off, nearly did so for the Patriots again today. And the Patriots not only go in to tomorrow's play, they're going to play someone who's already played that morning, so they're going to play someone who's a little extra taxed in their pitching staff. They basically have not used anybody in their bullpen practically.
They really haven't, and the bullpen is going to get fresher every day. They still need probably, it would be nice to have a nice day rest, and if they get another complete game, we could see them going all the way.
This is one of the big questions always about West Region teams, right? Or obviously that's a big broad brush, but you're in a position where you start your season in earnest in February. You can space your games out so you're not playing 25 games in April and 12 games in May just to get here, right? You instead are able to rely on just a handful of pitchers, and sometimes that means these teams run into trouble at this stage of the game. Right now, I mean, basically Tyler has basically everybody ready except for Cedillo and Cheatham.
They really do, and you look to somebody like University of Texas-Tyler. They're trying to lengthen out Malinsky's start times, and he still got over 100 innings. So if you sit there in Texas, you're going to be able to get a lot of innings without having to work every 5th or 4th day.
Right. That's Malinowski you're referring to,
yes,
of Texas Lutheran, but yes. Jared Pauly with 2 hits and a pair of runs batted in at the top of the order for the Patriots, and Henry Sanchez with a 3 for 3 afternoon and runs scored in an RBI at the bottom half of the order. Cheatham with the win, he improves to 9-5. Drake Koch with the loss, he fell to 7-1. This Drake Cook, it took me like 5 times to get that right earlier, and then I just flubbed it. We're not going to go back and edit that because it's 11:54 at this time. We should really Facebook Live this too. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe when we're crazy. The other game, the final game of the night, Concordia-Chicago defeated Texas Lutheran by the score of 8-3. Keaton Connor with a quality start after having gotten knocked around a little bit by Bethel in the regionals. Connor got knocked out of the game in the early going. He went 6 strong innings today. Mike Formella came on for a 3-inning save, allowed just 1 hit, walked 1 for save number 15. A big day for the Connor family, as Mike Stowski, the head coach, pointed out, because not only only did Keaton Connor pitch well, Colin Connor, who is the guy who is the offensive coordinator, the assistant coach who's in charge of the hitters for Concordia-Chicago, Stosky really credited Coach Connor's game plan.
Yeah, he put together a game plan that worked. And the Cougars had Texas Lutheran chasing them all afternoon, evening long, and they just never could catch up.
Run in the first, run in the second, 4 runs in the third. And even though Texas Lutheran came back to cut that lead to 6-3 with a couple of runs in the bottom half of the fifth, CUC answers with a run in the sixth and a run in the seventh and just basically puts it away. I was surprised to see how well, even though we know CUC is clearly a very talented offensive team and they did great things on offense, all season and in the regional, et cetera, et cetera. I was still really surprised to see Dylan Durgach struggle so much. 2 2/3 innings, 6 earned runs, 6 runs, all of them earned. Basically didn't have a whole lot of effectiveness there.
No, he did not have his stuff today. And he only pitched 2.2 innings, so he certainly could come back if Texas Lutheran finds themselves in need of another pitcher in another couple days.
Right, and unlike what they've done with their ace, they've not been shy about bringing Durgach back to have a couple of short relief stints in between starts. So that's certainly a possibility for him, where maybe it might not be for Malinowski. Durgach with the loss follows to 11-2. Connor 5-2 with the win. 2 hits apiece for Brian Van Duzer, Joe Silva, Andrew Massey, Kevin Coppin, Joe Silva, 15-pitch at-bat, an epic at-bat in which after that ended up drawing a walk, if I remember correctly.
And we've seen a couple epic at-bats. Texas Lutheran, Chad Curtis. Yep. He had one last night, and it seems to be the night brings out these great at-bats. And it's, you get deeper into the count, and all of a sudden the pitcher's throwing everything they can. The hitter sometimes just has the advantage, and you normally see a hit or a walk or the hitter doing something positive.
Coming up on Sunday, we still have 4 more games. We're not done with quadruple headers yet. And if you were looking at the bracket on NCAA.com earlier, you might be confused as to what's going on. The 4-team pods do not cross over, so Randolph-Macon will be playing Misericordia once again. That game is at 10 a.m. Central Time on Sunday. The winner of that game comes back at a game scheduled for 4:30 p.m., and they face UT-Tyler. UT-Tyler has to lose twice, or I guess the winner of Macon and Misericordia has to win twice to get past UT-Tyler and get into the Division III Baseball Championship Series. Coming out of the other bracket, we have an elimination game at scheduled for 1:15 in the afternoon between Texas Lutheran and Swarthmore. Winner of that game comes back at for the final game of the night, scheduled for 7:45 p.m. to play Concordia-Chicago, and similar situation. Concordia-Chicago just needs to win once, and they are in the Division III Championship Series, which, as you know, is a best-of-3 championship series. And it is the one thing I should say, of course, too, is that we had another great day of weather. We've had I hate to knock on wood when the microphones are on the table, but we've had some great weather so far.
It has been really good, and it's been warm, sunny, and it's going to continue that way. I guarantee it.
Keep an eye out for some great features on our website. We've got features about some great stories about Texas Lutheran. A great story about Sam Seagraves from Worcester. Sam Severance from Worcester, who is a really interesting story. Even though Worcester's been eliminated from the tournament, that's still a story worth reading. We've got a great story right now on the website about Misericordia reliever who had a great stretch at the end of regionals, but just the battle for him to get to that point is what you really want to read about. John McGraw did a great job writing that story. So we have those stories, much more coverage on d3baseball.com. See all the photos from our colleagues over at d3photography.com. But they've done some great work here at this series. If you're watching this video, you know that we do a video wrap-up at the end of the day. Have now for each of the last 8 seasons. This is our podcast. You don't have to watch, and it's only about 12 or so minutes long, maybe 14 or so today. But this is what we do. We cover Division III baseball, and we do it here as much as we can at Appleton, Wisconsin. For Jim Dixon, I'm Pat Coleman, wrapping up Saturday at the Division III World Series.